Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Elijah Muhammad, spiritual leader of the Nation of Islam, was born Elijah Poole on October 7, 1897. As a child, Elijah showed true leadership qualities and often settled disputes among the children of the household. In 1930, Elijah met Wallace Fard Muhammad, known then as Wallace D. Fard, or Allah as he was called by the Muslim followers. Elijah was intrigued by the man and went to hear him speak. They soon began spending a lot of time together. Master Fard Muhammad began teaching Elijah and training him for his mission. In 1934, Elijah, known then as Elijah Kareem, became the first minister of Islam. Elijah worked hard to establish temples and teach Islam, but he was met with obstacles. Jealousy and envy of Elijah and a misconception of what his role was to be by others caused Elijah to flee for his life and run for 7 years. He carried within him the plan for the birth of a new nation for the oppressed slaves, and if he didn't run, this concept of true freedom may never have reached the ears of the masses of black people. While running, Elijah taught Islam, and at that point in time, the government wanted Elijah's silence, for they didn't want a man to tell thousands of black people that they were somebody and they could accomplish what they will.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, judged people out of their book. If a Jew came to the Prophet, he didn't put on him the Quran, he judged him by the Torah. If a Christian came, he judged him by the Injil. If you're going to judge Muhammad, what book should you judge his actions out of? You should judge his actions out of the Quran. I said to our questions today, this is the last message before the judgment of the world. Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet to bring this message. No prophet after him. Honorable Elijah Muhammad never said he was a prophet. Never. But I ask you, in fairness, since the Quran says that every nation has received a messenger.
Listen.
Who is the messenger for the United States? And does America qualify to receive one? Come on.
Come on.
The enemy stopped the Quran from coming to the New World.
Yes.
This was a book only read in secret
Listen.
by Muslim Shriners. True?
Yes, sir.
You have a Bible, a book that has been added into and added out of. So you don't have a true knowledge
That's right.
of what God revealed to Moses or what God revealed to Jesus, and you never knew what God revealed to Muhammad.
Talk. Come on.
So you are lost in the wilderness
Come on.
with corrupted scriptures.
Come on.
Do you qualify to receive a messenger of God?
in the 1940s, when the masses of blacks began listening and responding to the voice of Elijah, the government stepped in and jailed him under the pretense of being a draft dodger, although he was over the age of 45 and the draft only covers ages 18 to 45. When Elijah left jail, almost everything that was built and almost everyone that was taught in the religion of Islam was gone and disbanded. He began to rebuild from the remains of the Nation of Islam. 1940s to the 1960s, Elijah Muhammad became known as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and as well on the way to establishing governmental order for black people. He always showed tremendous love for the black man, and everything he did was to better the condition of the black community. The messenger established schools, restaurants, homes, factories, warehouses, farms, supermarkets, a bank, and many other businesses to elevate the standards of the black community. In addition, before his departure, he was in the planning stages of acquiring a fleet of jet planes and a hospital for our people. In the early 1950s, there was a young recruit by the name of Malcolm Little who heard of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in prison, and he said that he had a vision of Master Fard Muhammad. So when the brother paroled, he paroled to his sister's house by the name of Ella Collins in Boston, Massachusetts, and brother soon joined the ranks of the Nation of Islam and quickly rose in the ranks and became a minister. He helped the most honorable Elijah Muhammad recruit thousands of followers, and he also helped the Honorable Elijah Muhammad build temples all across the United States of America. So I would like to give a first-hand account by a former minister of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by the name of Jeremiah Shabazz.
To the messenger seeking some kind of relief from this man that we consider to be a tyrant.
Yes, sir.
So the messenger called us and told us that he was going to send someone to help us out. And he sent, this is in March, he sent Malcolm from Boston and a minister named Isaiah from Baltimore. They came to Philadelphia. We had a little hearing, and we wrote up everything that had transpired. And Malcolm called the messenger and said he was going to bring it out there. So the messenger told Malcolm, said, well, who's there with those people? Oh, I'm a little ahead of myself.
Okay.
After that night, Willie Sharif left. I never seen him again.
Yes, sir.
But Malcolm called the messenger and said, well, what should he do? You know, because he wanted to go out to Chicago and bring the report.
Yes,
the messenger says, no, send the report, but you stay there with those Muslims, because Willie had thrown the coup. So he said, you stay there. And he sent Isaiah back to Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
So I shared an apartment with another brother by the name of Robert Leo.
Okay.
And we had an extra bed, so we allowed Malcolm to stay there with us.
Okay.
And he moved in that same day and stayed there for 6-7 months until he got the call to go to New York City.
Okay, what year are we talking about?
1954.
54.
Yeah.
Okay.
Contrary to popular opinion, a lot of people think that Malcolm came out of jail and went right to New York, but that's not the truth at all. Malcolm was in jail in Massachusetts.
Yes, sir.
And when he came out, he has a sister that lives in Massachusetts named Ella, in Boston, rather. And so he stayed with Ella briefly, then he went on into Detroit.
Yes, sir.
Or I should say went back to Lansing, and then down to Detroit. And he, the messenger put him under Minister Lemuel. Lemuel is the brother of Minister James Shabazz, who used to be the brother that went around over the nation doing all the funerals.
Yes, sir.
But Minister James died. I don't know what happened to Lemuel. He may have passed too, but I know Malcolm was working under Lemuel in Detroit. And Malcolm at that time was living in a house that was owned by brother Robert, who's now Robert Hussein of Pittsburgh. And while he was in the house with Robert and his wife, Robert had an overly friendly wife. She was kind of always up in the brother's face. So she liked Malcolm as a friend, but she got pregnant. not by her husband, but the rumor started in the temple that, hey, that might be Malcolm's baby because she's always up in Malcolm's face.
Yes, sir.
So the pressure forced Malcolm out of Detroit and he went back to Boston.
Yes, sir.
And he tried to start a temple there. And some of his first people up there was Lucille and Evelyn, and off the record, I'm certain you're going to edit this tape, right?
Yes, sir.
Lucille and Evelyn, these two sisters primarily are the ones that brought the charges against the messenger about having fathered their children.
Yes, sir.
But these are Malcolm's first converts there in Boston. And so it was while Malcolm was back in Boston, after he had been released from prison, that the messenger sent him to Philadelphia.
Yes.
And that was in March of 1954. The exact day, I don't know, but I do know that when Malcolm first came to the temple, I saw this tall, lanky brother come walking up. He had on a gray overcoat and a blue suit and no hat. It was cold, and he came to our temple, and that's how it began. That's how my association with Malcolm began.
Friend, I think, are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that...
And I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
Mr. O'Connor.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish that you are?
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
That's
if
all right.
a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or white background. And a yellow person, Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to walk around with these names. And therefore he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once, his grandfather or one of his forefathers was owned by a white man who was named Johnson. If his name is Bunch, his grandfather was owned by a white man that was named Bunch.
So the messenger wrote me a letter, said, brother, in fact, I think I still have that letter.
Yes,
don't be like Malcolm, always sticking your face in front of a camera and, trying to get in the devil's news. He said, and I'll never forget, he said, you will lose the love of Allah and of the believers. And so he warned me. He said, no, cut back, don't go that route.
Yes, sir.
So when he warned me, I avoided, I assiduously avoided sticking my face in front of cameras.
Yes, sir.
I stayed in the background. But that was the thing that seemed to not irk the messenger, because nothing irked him, that he wanted to warn Malcolm about, because he knew that this was going to cause his downfall.
Yes, sir.
And Malcolm continued to get more and more exposure.
Okay.
And he was allowing the devil to use him as the leader.
Okay.
He would not shut the devil up or say to the devil, hey, don't do that to me. Elijah was the leader. He, as the devils praised him, he ate the praise.
I see.
You
Instead
see,
of giving it
the way it was due, which is what we always did when we taught. Somebody would clap for us, we would say, "All praises to Allah." Don't give me the praise.
That's right.
But Malcolm began to eat the praise.
Yes, sir.
And that's when he got on the collision course with the messenger. Because the messenger was wise, Allah taught him.
That's right.
And he was trying to show Malcolm that, look, brother, that way is not good. The devil is only using you against me now. He's not praising you because he likes you.
Right.
He hates you as much as he hates me.
Yes,
but he sees that there's a weak link in you. He can use you against me.
That's right.
Don't do that.
Yes, sir.
But evidently, Malcolm must have interpreted that as, hey, maybe the messenger's a little jealous of me. I'm getting exposure that he's not getting. But the messenger didn't have any jealousy of Malcolm.
Yes, sir.
The messenger knew who he was. He was confident in his position with Allah.
That's right.
And he was trying to guide Malcolm so that he wouldn't become a victim of Allah's wrath. As we say in the Al-Fatiha, not of those whom thy wrath is brought down.
That's right.
You see, but Malcolm, he became a little heady with power.
Yes, sir.
And that was his undoing. And this is the thing that Sister Muhammad was telling me to warn him. Tell him, don't do this.
Yes, sir.
Because they were getting reports in New York. They were building him up in New York. Malcolm, Malcolm, Malcolm. And instead of him saying praises to Allah and his messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a man, not me, he ate the praise. That's what put him on the collision course.
So in November of 1963, United States President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and an order went out by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, wisely ordering all of his ministers to not make any statements in the public due to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, because not only John F. Kennedy was loved in the white community, he was also loved by members of the black community as well. But instead of following that order and instruction, Minister Malcolm X still spoke out and made a statement that was against the wishes and the orders of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You'll excuse the fact that I'm out of breath, but about 10 or 15 minutes ago, a tragic thing, from all indications at this point, has happened in the city of Dallas.
We all was shocked at hearing of the tragic end of our president. We all were so shocked over the president, we just suspended all public speaking this year.
Malcolm X, you were involved in a controversy some months ago with your leader.
Well, I've been silent for the past 90 days because of some statements I made concerning the President of the United States, which were distorted.
They were distorted?
And yes.
What did you say, Malcolm?
Well, I said the same thing that everybody says, that his assassination was the result of the climate of hate. But only I said the chickens came home to roost, and which means the same thing.
But tensions between him and the messenger would come to a head in late November 1963.
So we're sitting in the restaurant, drinking coffee, having this meeting, and the captain of the mosque, Joseph, got a telephone call from his wife, and Joseph got up and went to a phone booth, took the call, and he came back to the table looking like visibly shocked, and he said that his wife had just told him that Kennedy had been shot. Malcolm sent somebody to get a radio out of the back, and we plugged in the radio and listened, and the announcer was saying to repeat, we're confirming that the president has been shot in Dallas, Texas, and at this point we don't know how serious it is. And Malcolm said, immediately, he said, that devil is dead.
John F. Kennedy had been assassinated. Mr. Muhammad had his son call Malcolm. He said, Brother Minister Malcolm, my father told me to tell you, and we're calling all over the country, that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and that we should not say anything in a derogatory way whatsoever, because the man is the president of the United States, and that people love him.
The Muslims had scheduled a rally at the Manhattan Center in New York City. The day of the rally, the messenger called Malcolm to remind him to teach the spiritual side and avoid saying anything about the president's death.
But he was clearly nervous about what he might say. He spoke from a prepared speech, never specifically mentioned Kennedy, but then, as if courting disaster, he opened the floor up to questions.
Normally he would speak, but he wouldn't ask for question and answer. But this day, he asked for question and answer.
And he went into this litany, comparing other leaders around the world who had somehow suffered at the hands of the United States government or its agents, and how that compared to what had just happened to Kennedy. And he said, Patrice Lumumba died, and his wife became a widow. His people had their leader cut down, and the U.S. government had been involved in doing that. And he went through a string of these, always winding up with the involvement of the United States government. So that the final point, that when you do those kinds of things all around the world, you set up a situation, an atmosphere, an environment in the world, and sooner or later, those chickens come home to roost.
When he answered, I was really took back. I didn't understand that. And he answered the question. He said, I know I'm going to get in trouble for this, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a case of the chickens coming home to roost. Naturally, John Ali, the National Secretary, was there. And that's how Mr. Muhammad got the news so fast.
This statement is from Messenger Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Muslims of America. Minister Malcolm Shabazz, addressing a public meeting at Manhattan Center in New York City on Sunday, December the 1st, did not speak for the Muslims when he made comments on the death of the president, John F. Kennedy. He was speaking for himself and not Muslims in general. And Minister Malcolm has been suspended from public speaking for the time being.
As a result of what had taken place between Minister Malcolm, many conspiracies and controversies began to come out, and the FBI, COINTELPRO, led by Director J. Edgar Hoover, worked diligently to widen the division between Minister Malcolm X and his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to where that there was a tragic end to our dear brother, Minister Malcolm X, after he had left the Nation of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad rose up several more giants in the black community, such as brothers like Muhammad Ali, Warith Muhammad, and our dear beloved, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So after the assassination of Malcolm X, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad reached out to Dr. Martin Luther King in 1966 in efforts to unite with Dr. King, and after the meeting, Dr. King's messages began to change.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare.
Another rising star in the Nation of Islam was a brother named Louis X. And Brother Louis X took over the mosque in New York City and eventually became the national spokesman and assistant to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
No foolishness called religion that got them looking in the sky. These brothers refuse to look in the sky for anything. So these are the brothers, the fearless young brother that's giving the white man trouble. So the only way he can stop the brother is to send drugs in the community to kill this youth before it can ever flower and blossom. But among these brothers right here is a great black general. Among them right now are scientists. Among these brothers right now are those that can fashion a world, but they don't know it, and the people will never see it until the mud is removed. And this is what Muhammad did for us. Most of us, a lot of us in the mosque, we were in the same condition yesterday. But Mr. Muhammad took us and cleaned us up. Why should we get our own food, brother? Because you know that the white man got all these stores. And since he don't love us, he sells us the worst meat for the highest prices. He sells us the worst vegetables. He sells us poison meat. So if we're going to live a long time, and brother, this is the only life we got, we want to look to each other. See, you are the beautiful one. Not me, not us, but it's you, the people. See, because we come around here and the television cameras are on us, we're not the big shot. The people is the big shot. See, we got to learn that this little life has but a short time to live. So if I can live this life to serve you and to serve you and to serve you, then that makes my life valuable. But there is no value to me if I don't serve you and help you. You understand? That's the way we're supposed to live. May Allah bless you, brother. Together. Look at this young, strong black brotherhood. How you doing, sister? How you doing, brother? No, you're beautiful. You're the beautiful one. What we want Whitey to see is that though he can think he's destroyed us, he put drugs all in the block, and he makes us to think that we're nothing. Yet, in your heart, you know that you're somebody, and you are something. Muhammad wants you to know that you're the original black man. There was no man on the earth before the black man. You didn't have no brown man, you didn't have no yellow man, and you didn't have no white man before the black man. We are the greatest. All we got to do is get up today and be our beautiful black selves. See, and the thing that white people hate is to see us showing love to each other. What he likes to see us doing is this. See, when he see a black man, excuse me, brother, when he see a black man hitting a black man, cutting a black man, shooting a black man, Whitey drive by and say, well, them niggas are all right. They're doing just what I want them to do. But when he see us shaking each other's hands and walking like we in love with each other, then the enemy gets scared, because the unity of us is what will stop the condition that we live in. So brothers, wherever we are, we should unite, and wherever we are, we should learn to love each other as we never did before. May Allah bless you, brother.
I want you to remember today I have one of my greatest teacher here going along for him. What are you hiding behind there? Think about people, brother. Come on out here where they can see you. We have with us today our great national preacher. The preacher who don't mind going into Harlem, New York, one of the most waste towns in our nation, our city. It is our brother in Detroit and Chicago, Harlem, New York. But I want you to remember, every week he's on the air, helping me to reach those people that I can't get out of my house and go reach like he. I want you to pay good attention to his preaching. His preaching is a bearing of witness to me in what God has given to me. This is one of the strongest national preachers that I have in the bounds of North America. Everywhere you hear him, listen to him. Everywhere you see him, look at him. Everywhere he advises you to go, go. Everywhere he advises you to stay from. So we are thankful to Allah for this great helper of mine, Minister Farrakhan. He's not a proud man. He's a very humble man. If he can carry you across the lake without dropping you in, he don't say when he get on the other side, just see what I have done. He tells you to see what Allah has done. He don't take it upon himself. He's a mighty fine preacher. We heard him every week. And I say continue to hear our Minister Farrakhan.
The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad delivered his final speech at Saviour's Day 1974. In late February of 1975, it was announced and declared that the Messenger of Allah, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, had died and made his transition in Chicago at Mercy Hospital. Many of his followers believe that the rightful heir and leader was his national assistant, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But contrary to what the family wanted in certain factions in the Nation of Islam, it automatically defaulted to Mr. Muhammad's son, Warif Deen Muhammad. So, to prevent civil warfare and breaking up the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gracefully and humbly submitted to the leadership of Warif Deen Muhammad. So, please stay tuned for part 3 to learn more about the destruction and the rebirth of the Nation of Islam. This is your brother, Malcolm Flex TV, and thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.
So, what are we witnessing? What are we looking at? We're looking at the impossible. What is the impossible? That the black man and woman who was so destroyed would rise again into the knowledge, wisdom, spirit, and will of God. That the Native Americans that the Mexicans, that the crushed human beings of the earth would be able to rise up again into their original knowledge and wisdom and power. This is what you're looking at. This cannot be accomplished by prophets.
I still see your shadows in my room. I can't take back the love that I gave you. It's to the point where I love and I hate you, and I cannot change you, so I must replace you. Easier said than done.